Welcome to Code Jogging. In our previous video, we looked at how we can create a new project, and then we also looked at how we can also run our first C++ project, and we were able to run it very well, and we received hello world as an output. And I said that in this video, we are going to look at the basic structure that you need to know in C++. So if you are writing your code in C++, what are some of the things you need to consider? So that's what we are going to do in this video. In case today is your first time watching our video, please kindly subscribe to our channel and also turn on the notification button so that anytime you upload a new content, you'll be notified that you never miss any video from us. So let's get started. What we are going to do in this video is we are going to delete the code that was generated by the IDE, because if you are using the modern IDE and you create a new project, it will give you a template. Okay, and that's what we had when we first created our project. So we are going to delete our code here, and then we are going to write everything from scratch. Now, anytime you are writing C++ code, there are some things you need to check. The first thing is you have to check the file extension. You have to first write your code in the main.cpp. C++ has a file extension .cpp. Okay, so, and then you have to make sure that you have the CMake list. We are not going to talk about the CMake list here. Okay, we will talk about it later. So we are going to focus on the basic structure. First, we have to make sure that we are writing our code in the main.cpp. If you are using the dev C++ or code blocks, I believe after you've written your code and then you click on compile and then run, there will be a prompt for you to give a name. The default name is main.pp, but if the name already exists, you have to give it a different name. Don't worry, just give it a different name and then click on continue or okay. Then you wait for a while, the compiler will finish compiling your code, and then a console, like a prompt, will be on your screen that will display the output. And when I'm talking about the console, we are talking about where we display the result. In this IDE, this is the console. This is where we can display the output of whatever we've written in our C++ project. Okay, so now anytime you are going to write a C++ project, make sure that you are writing your code in main.cpp. That's the file extension for the C++. Second, what you have to know is first you have to import the standard library. How can we import or include the standard library? We have to write this line of code. The first thing you have to do is the line 1 must be the hash sign here, and then we add include. Okay, so this is the hash sign and then the include. Then which standard library that we are going to import? We are going to focus on only the input and then the output for now. So for us to import that, then we have to first type the less than sign, then iostream here, then we close it with the greater than sign here. Okay, so now we've included our iostream, that's our standard library, and with the standard library, we've only imported the iostream. So with this one, we should be able to display a message on the console, and also we should be able to receive an input from the user. So that's what this line means. So the next step you are going to do is we are going to use another code that will help us to make our code simple. Okay, we have two ways of doing that. You can ignore this second, and then if you ignore it, then you have to always do this in your code, and I'll show you that one later. So we are going to look at the easiest way first. The first thing we are going to do is we are going to use the namespace std here. So we type using namespace std, then we need to terminate it. Okay, so let's terminate it with a semicolon. Now, the next step we are going to look at is in C++, anytime you compile your code, the compiler executes your code from the main function. Okay, so wherever you type your code, you have to make sure that you have your main function, and the main function must be an integer function. Okay, so we first give the function name here, that's the main function, and this is how we write function. Okay, so this is the function here, but in C++, a function must have a data type, the kind of data that we are going to return in that function. Okay, so we have to use the data type and then the function name, and you should have the braces, that's the opening and the closing braces here, so more like the body. So in between here and here, that's where we will write our code. So now we are having an error here. Why are we having an error? Because we've not specified what this function is. Okay, so now let's add int and then space. Okay, so now we have int main function here. What is the status that we are going to return? We are going to tell our compiler that compile the code. If there's nothing wrong with the project or with the code, then return status okay. And since this one is an integer function, we can return only a whole number. Okay, so then the line, and we know that any code below return will not run. So the last line in our project should have return and then 0. Then let's terminate it with a semicolon. A statement must end with a semicolon. Okay, so now what we are going to do is we are going to run our code and make sure that everything is successful. Okay, so now we have two options of running our code. If you are using Windows and you are using Dev C++, or if you are using code blocks, you can click on compile and then run. Okay, so now let's click here to run our code. Yes, run our first project. Let's wait for a while. Yes, process finished with exit code 0. Okay, so it means that there's nothing wrong with our code. We can proceed writing our code too. The next step we are going to look at is how we are going to display something on the screen. Okay, so we are going to arrive at when we created the first project, the template that was given to us, we are going to do the same thing here. Okay, so now what we are going to do is we are going to type cout with less than, and then we bring double quote, then let's terminate it. Then we type hello world. Okay, yes, so now we type hello world. In our next video, we'll be looking at the use of the cout. So if this one sounds something new to you, don't worry. In our next video, we are going to explain it. And if you realize that once we type the cout, the color of the hash include has changed. Now it has become active. It means that we've called a function from that library. Okay, so now let's run our code. And then let's see the outputs. Hello world. Okay, now if you've noticed something, you can see that the code that we are having here is somehow different from what the ID generated for us when we first created our first project. Okay, and earlier I said that we have two ways of using the std. Either you can import it on top of your main function and then you can call it in your project, or we can ignore this side. Let's remove this. Okay, and now you see that the color of this one has changed. Let's try and then run our code and see if we will get an error. Yes, now we had an error. So let's see what the error was about. It said use of undeclared identifier cout. Did you mean this? Okay, so it means that if we are not going to add the using namespace sdt semicolon, then anytime you are going to use the cout, you have to call this. So it means that we always have to append this one to it. And then let's run our code again if there will be an issue. No. Okay. So now you have two ways of writing your code. It's either you import or you include the using namespace and then you write the C out straight, or you can write it like this. Okay, so this brings us to the end of this video. In case you have any questions, you can leave it at the comment section and then we respond to it. And also, if you have any suggestions that can help us to improve on this channel, please use the channel email address to reach out to us. And if you've not subscribed to this channel, please kindly do so and then turn on the notification button. See you in our next video. Bye bye.